Are you considering buying Gray Zone Warfare? Here's why you might want to reconsider. From the get-go, this game seems to be embroiled in a storm of technical turbulence. Players have been reporting severe issues that significantly hinder the gameplay experience. Imagine trying to navigate through a war zone, but your screen stutters like a broken film reel. And that's not all. Even the frame rates are low, making the gameplay as smooth as a gravel road. These aren't minor hiccups that can be overlooked. They're like landmines in your path, exploding at the most inconvenient moments and seriously hampering your enjoyment. It's as if you're fighting two battles simultaneously, one against the in-game enemies and another against the game's own technical shortcomings. The game's technical issues seriously hamper the enjoyment and playability of Gray Zone Warfare. Unfortunately, the problems don't end with technical issues. Gray Zone Warfare has been plagued with a variety of bugs that disrupt the gaming experience. Imagine you're in the middle of an intense firefight, heart racing, when suddenly a network error crashes the game. Frustrating, right? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. Matchmaking failures are also a common occurrence, leaving players stranded in lobbies waiting for a game that never starts. This can be a real mood killer, especially when you've just geared up for an action-packed session. But perhaps the most unpredictable aspect of Gray Zone Warfare is the game behavior itself. Sometimes things work as expected, and other times, well, they don't. From weapons mysteriously disappearing from your inventory to characters getting stuck in walls, the unpredictability can be more baffling than entertaining. The bug-ridden gameplay can easily ruin the gaming experience for many players. And that's a real shame given the potential that Gray Zone Warfare had to offer. If you're expecting gameplay mechanics similar to Escape from Tarkov, prepare to be disappointed. Gray Zone Warfare's mechanics tend to falter, shattering immersion. Players report non-responsive controls in key moments, akin to quicksand trapping their characters during firefights. This glitchy gameplay, stuck in a dreamlike state, breaks the player's immersion like a rude awakening from deep sleep. This is not the standard you'd expect in 2024, when other games offer a seamless experience. The gameplay mechanics fall short of expectations and often leave players frustrated. Quality is not just about gameplay, it's also about the visual and audio experience. In this regard, Gray Zone Warfare leaves much to be desired. The game's graphics, a vital component of player immersion, are disappointingly underwhelming. Instead of the high-definition, lifelike visuals we've come to expect from modern gaming, we're met with bland textures and lackluster environments. It's as if the game's world is stuck in a time capsule, unable to keep up with the progress of its counterparts. Then there's the audio. Sound effects in a game should enhance the experience, not detract from it. However, in Gray Zone Warfare, the sound elements are among the worst heard. The gunfire lacks punch, the ambient sounds are almost non-existent, and the overall audio mix feels unbalanced and hastily put together. The subpar visual and sound quality of Gray Zone Warfare detract from the overall gaming experience. A great game should be an audiovisual treat, and unfortunately this one misses the mark. Even if you're dissatisfied with the game, getting a refund might be a challenge. Picture this, you've just purchased Gray Zone Warfare, and you're excited to dive into the gameplay. But wait, there's a catch. Before you can even start playing, you're faced with around 2 hours of menu navigation. 2 hours. And let's remember, most platforms like Steam have a refund eligibility window that takes into account the time spent in-game. So by the time you've navigated through the menus and experienced the game's issues firsthand, you've likely surpassed the refund window. It's a frustrating situation to say the least. It's almost as if the game's lengthy menu navigation is a strategic move to ensure that players can't easily get their money back. This refund difficulty certainly adds to the growing list of reasons why you might want to reconsider buying Gray Zone Warfare. Player interactions with the environment and NPCs are far from smooth. In the world of Gray Zone Warfare, something as simple as getting around can become a major hurdle. Let's talk about helicopters, for instance. These should be thrilling, high-speed escape routes, right? Well, not quite. Instead, they're often a source of frustration with clunky controls and unpredictable responses that can leave you stuck in the air, or worse, crashing down unexpectedly. And then, there are the NPCs, the non-player characters that populate the game world. You'd expect them to add depth and complexity to your experience, but instead, their behavior is erratic and often nonsensical. They might ignore you when you need help, attack when they should be friendly, or just stand there, frozen in place while chaos unfolds around them. The glitchy interactions further diminish the enjoyment of the game. So, when you're navigating the gray zone, be prepared for a bumpy ride. A good game should have intuitive controls. Unfortunately, that's not the case with Gray Zone Warfare. The user interface and controls seem to have been designed as an afterthought, lacking the polish and refinement found in comparable titles. Navigating through the game's menus feels like a chore, with clunky, hard-to-read fonts and a dizzying array of submenus that often leave players lost and confused. Combat controls are a particular pain point. The buttons for aiming, shooting, and reloading are strangely placed, leading to awkward hand movements and missed opportunities during gameplay. The inventory management system also leaves much to be desired. It's a labyrinth of small icons and confusing categories that can make a simple task like equipping a new weapon feel like a Herculean effort. In a game where survival hinges on quick decisions and efficient actions, these control issues can be deal-breakers. The unrefined UI and controls add to the game's list of frustrations. The game doesn't just strain the player's patience, but also their hardware. Gray Zone Warfare is not just a game, it's a workout for your PC. Players with high-end systems have reported that the game demands a lot from their hardware. It's like running a marathon but for your computer. This is no lightweight software that will let your computer breeze through. No, it's more like a heavyweight champion pushing your system to its limits. You'd think that with such high demands, the game would offer stunning graphics and smooth gameplay. Sadly, that's not the case here. Your PC might be sweating bullets trying to keep up with the game's demands. But for what? Underwhelming graphics, janky mechanics, and a myriad of technical issues? It seems like a lot of strain for not much gain. So, before you consider buying Gray Zone Warfare, think about your hardware. Is it ready for a workout? Is it worth the strain? The strain on hardware is another reason to reconsider buying Gray Zone Warfare. Don't just take our word for it, the community feedback speaks volumes. It's not only us who've encountered these drawbacks. The gaming community too has voiced its disappointment with Gray Zone Warfare. There's a resounding agreement that the game isn't living up to expectations, and the feedback is overwhelmingly negative. Gamers are expressing their frustration, pointing out the severe technical issues, numerous bugs, and the underwhelming gameplay mechanics. However, what's hitting the hardest is the perceived lack of respect to the player base. The game's refund policy, which requires around 2 hours of menu navigation before gameplay begins, has been criticized as a tactic to surpass the refund eligibility window on platforms like Steam. Additionally, players with high-end systems have reported significant hardware strain, further adding to the game's negative reputation. It's clear that the game needs substantial improvements to satisfy its player base. The negative community feedback is a clear indication of the game's current state. Even the game's self-healing mechanics can be more of a hindrance than a help. In Gray Zone Warfare, it seems the developers have tried to create a complex and intricate system for restoring health. However, this attempt at depth and realism falls flat. Instead of enhancing the gameplay, it often adds a layer of frustration and confusion. Imagine being in the heat of battle, only to find that your healing process is as complicated as solving a Rubik's Cube. It's not just a simple matter of applying a bandage or consuming a health potion. Instead, players are required to navigate through a convoluted series of steps that can feel more like a medical exam than a game mechanic. This lack of intuitive design detracts from the immersion, pulling you out of the tense combat situations and into a puzzling mini-game of sorts. Ultimately, the confusing self-healing mechanics add to the list of reasons not to buy Gray Zone Warfare. So should you buy Gray Zone Warfare? After an in-depth look at the game's many shortcomings, the answer is a resounding no. The game is plagued by severe technical issues from stutters to low frame rates that can make for a frustrating experience. It's also riddled with bugs that disrupt gameplay, including network errors and matchmaking failures. The gameplay mechanics, though reminiscent of Escape from Tarkov, are reported as janky and often non-responsive. The visual and sound quality are underwhelming, and the game's self-healing mechanics can be confusing and unrealistic. The game's strain on hardware is also a significant concern, even for those with high-end systems. And finally, the community feedback is overwhelmingly negative. All these issues make Gray Zone Warfare a game that is not worth your hard-earned money or your precious time. Until significant improvements are made, Gray Zone Warfare is not recommended for purchase. Save your money and your time for a game that delivers on all fronts.